unionised. And the union movement doesn't actually advocate for what those who are outside of the movement very well at all. Brian Lawrence, who's represented the views of the church before the National Wage Tribunals now for the last decade or so, has advocated on behalf of those lowest paid workers in the workforce, most of them are non-unionised. And in one of these national wage cases, there was no support at all for that group. All of the arguments were about those actually who were in the unionised workforce. And Brian was saying that in the last two rounds, the National Wage Tribunal has actually now structured the wage on the individual, not on the family. Back in our time, it was the basic wage, what it cost to live for a husband, a wife and two kids. That was the structure. We then went to the total wage. I don't know, Barney Williams, wasn't it? He used to come to the key worker schools and talk to us about the wage structures in this country. So then went to the total wage, and that was what industry could afford to pay. But now we're at the stage where it's based on the individual. And so the concept of family, the concept of support for children, and so on, has been lost from the national wage structure. And you look at the plight of the Indigenous in our community, their health, their education, but their incarceration. You know, the incarceration rates of Indigenous Australians is just appalling. Here we've got a government that is advocating for tax breaks for big corporations, and yet it's cutting the benefits for young unemployed people. And we still don't have those schemes that are seen in many other parts of the world that say to young people, we're not going to pay you to leave school and sit at home, but we want every young person in the youth guarantee to be engaged in work, training or education, or combinations of those. And so you hold people in the mainstream of society until their early 20s at least, and support them rather than isolate them out. And unfortunately, our schools often don't want to have those young people who are less inclined to an academic course of study. They find it hard to fit into the school. Some schools don't even have the equipment, the desks and so on for those students. And the money in education, and I can tell you as a former education minister, that the money in education always goes to those who are the strongest academically. And if you do medicine, we spend 10 times more money on you than if you drop out of school, at 16 or 17. And so there are great challenges that we've got in Australian society. We've seen in this state now the legalisation of euthanasia. Just last week in Belgium, there were 2 children who were euthanized. They both had debilitating disabilities, but neither of them had their lives threatened, but they were able to be legally euthanized. And so the legislation in the federal parliament this week was defeated to allow the territories where it's easy to pass legislation because there's only one house, and so that was stopped. But it is scary to see in a secular world all of these things happening. And what is it that helps people to make a judgment of what's right and what's wrong? Well, we have the advantage of referring back to the Gospels to work out for ourselves and amongst our friends what we thought was right and wrong in those actual situations that we talked about at our meetings when we had a review of life. And that is so powerful and so incredibly important, because if you don't have a God, you don't have a basis on which to make those decisions, then it's just what you bring yourself. And you see that as people, is it money, is it materialism, is it power? What is it that makes and motivates people to do that? I was visiting a parish in Cardijn when I was working for YSW. The girls, a full-time worker, Veronica Corcoran was with me, and it was an old Irish parish priest, and we went and saw him and said, look, Father, we've come, we work for the YSW, we've come to meet the young people in your parish, and we want them to join a leaders group, and we were to get the YSW going. And he said, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Adelaide. And that was the first mistake, of course, I made down south. And he said to Veronica and I, he said, look, before you could work in my parish, I'd like to give you a test, examination. We said, sure, what do you want to know? He said, I want you to recite the 10 Commandments. And we said, well, I think between us we could probably work that out. We could scratch up the 10 Commandments, but what does that tell you about us that is going to help you to make that decision? He said, well, what do you mean? And we said, look, we have come to talk to young people, and we want them to be inspired by the Gospels and to learn how to work out for their own lives where they want to go, but having a set of parameters, a set of values that come from the Gospels that will inspire us. And he said, are you sure you're not Protestants? And so we eventually talked him into letting us into the parish, but we went back to Rockhampton and we saw Bishop Rush, who at that stage was the bishop's deputy for the YCW, who's a famous bishop. And we told him the story, and he said, look, I'm going up to Mackay in a couple of weeks, and you both come with me. And so we went up, and I had my car, I had my Volkswagen. We got him in the back, the bishop, drove him around to various parishes. We went to this one, and he said to the parish priest, look, you got my message? And the priest said, yeah. He said, you've organised a meeting, haven't you, all the young people in the parish tonight? Yes. Greg and Veronica, they're going to speak to young people tonight, and I want you to support them and be there, and they've got something important to do in this diocese and in your parish. And so the bishop came, the priest came, and we had about 70 or 80 young people came to the meeting in the parish, and we didn't look back after that. We got 16 groups of the YCW going to Rockhampton itself, and right throughout that incredible remote diocese. You go out to Longreach and Dark Hall, all those places, the same in Townsville diocese, and the government gave us rail passes so that we could go on the train. We'd go on the train, catch the train out to Mount Isa, and stay 2 or 3 days in each parish. Mostly older Irish priests, and one parish I was in, 2 days I'd been there playing cards with the parish priest, having a whiskey or two, and saying, Father, I need to talk to the young people, I need tomorrow, and they were just so lonely. Many of them weren't well, they'd been left in their parishes for far too long and not supported. It was a tough existence. There wasn't one parish in Townsville diocese, apart from those on the coast, that had hot water in their Christmas trees. And it was this filthy, stinking bore water that came. It was hot in itself in hot weather, but that was the lot of those priests who had come from Ireland. They'd lost contact with their families at home, and they hadn't really made the friendships here. I think it was almost every priest in that diocese was a volunteer. So that's the sea, isn't it? That's the world that we've faced. And this is what Pope Francis has said in The Joy of the Gospels. He's written these wonderful, wonderful exhortations. And people are very critical of this Pope. And it's a good thing in a way that he's caused debate. And Laudato Si, which is about the environment, was the one that the Americans just wouldn't spare about, because he attacked capitalism in it. He attacked greed. He attacked the Me Tooism that is so often part of that ideology and philosophy. And this is what he said about lay people. And our church, if it's going to have a future, we all hope it does, it's going to be around lay people, and it's going to be around lay people that have engaged in deep formation, that really have a confidence and a hopeful aura about them, and who not just want to work to see the church survive into the future, but want to transform society as well. And that's what the YCW was always about. It was taking us out in the community, giving us the skills, whether it was to speak publicly, to chair meetings, to write minutes, to go out there and do things in the community that were constructive. So this is what the Pope said. Lay people are, put simply, the vast majority of the people of God. The minority, ordained ministers, are at their service. And you have to say that it's been the other way around in many, many places, and that's known as clericalism. And he talks about that as well. There has been a growing awareness, in contrast to the YSW, where we saw so many priests and religious who were selfless, who really did have a commitment to the laity and to their formation and their role in the church. There has been a growing awareness of the identity and mission of the laity in the church. We can count on many laypersons, although still not nearly enough, who have a deeply rooted sense of community and great fidelity to the tasks of charity, catechesis and celebration of faith. At the same time, a clear awareness of this responsibility of the laity, grounded in their baptism and confirmation, does not appear in the same way in all places. In some cases, it's because laypersons have not been given the formation needed to take on important responsibilities. In others, it is because in their particular churches, room has not been made for them to speak and to act, due to an excessive clericalism which keeps them away from decision making. Even if many are now involved in the lay ministries, this involvement is not reflected in the greater penetration of Christian values in the social, political and economic sectors. It often remains tied to tasks within the church without a real commitment to applying the gospel to the transformation of society. The formation of the laity and the evangelisation of professional and intellectual life represent a significant pastoral challenge. And, that is an incredibly powerful statement for a poet to make. And you can see why it's controversial. Because he's saying so many parishes, so many priests, so many bishops, so many church leaders have set aside the laity and said, no, the priests, they can do this and they can manage that. And I've just sat for 5 years on the Truth, Justice and Healing Council and lived through the Royal Commission. And I've heard the Royal Commissioner day after day talk about some of the structural problems in the Catholic Church. And one of them is in this very diocese of Melbourne, where some years ago there was a decree that parish priests would chair school boards and also have rights of veto over appointments of principals, will be involved in the appointment. And the Royal Commission pointed out the problems that we've faced in Catholic education in Australia, with almost 40% of all the allegations of abuse coming from the school context. And so how is it that we provide for transparency? We appoint the most competent people to chair our school boards, to make the decisions about the appointments of key positions like principals. In the YSW, we always to say, always by the layperson, but never without the priest. And, that's the lesson here, I think, as well, that the Royal Commission was talking to us. Now, that was defended vigorously in the Royal Commission. The problems we now have in my state, where the Parliament has legislated for, if you like, direct intervention in the sacrament of reconciliation, so that priests are obliged by law now to report to the authorities a penitent who confesses paedophilia to them, or offences against children of any sort. And so that's mandatory reporting. And there was an occasion in the Royal Commission where the 5 metropolitan archbishops were brought before the Royal Commission and they were asked to comment about this. And the Royal Commissioner said to them, they presented really 5 different views of how to manage this, and which was really distressing for a person to sit and listen to this. Good men, devout in their faith, having hold these strong views, but putting that to a Royal Commission, the Royal Commissioner said, well, how do we go about this? One of those bishops said we should go to Rome and we should ask Rome for guidance. The Royal Commissioner said, how long would that take? And the bishop said, well, it will take many months. But he said, this is February, we're not going to report till the end of the year. Would you come back with me? And we can put this into our report. Nothing came back to the Royal Commission, and so we copped a recommendation that the state should intervene. And we are now in a mess. We are in a real mess of how to sort out how to respond to this. This is the state telling the church how to administer a sacrament of the church. And they just didn't understand what reconciliation is all about and the role of the priest in reconciliation. That's the, if you like, the judge section of what I'm about to say, and now the action. And so today you're going to make a decision, a small group, but a dedicated group of very, very experienced people in the life of the laity of the church, who are going to make a decision about forming an institute. And I'm aware that there are many other organisations, I said, in the church, and the aim of all of us should be to work together and to complement each other, all motivated in different ways. And some it's an informal group, it's a social group, it's a support group, it's a friendship group. For others it's, for example, holdings, it's an administrative trust. And for Kevin, your group have done fantastic work linking around Australia, the group I know, Western Australia, this group in Queensland that are interested in these rural groups, certainly the Mosala Institute in South Australia and so on. How do we keep all those groups working together? And here is a group that might well be able to, while we are still able to, is to contribute to some research, some further study, trying to influence the ACU, teacher training, nurse training, and those other institutions into an understanding as a Catholic institution of Catholic social teaching, the great encyclicals, the teachings of the Church on the issues, daily life, these great documents that the Pope is putting out that just are inspirational, give us some guidance, some structure, but give us hope as well into the future. So I just wanted to conclude by saying that I wish you well in this venture, but in all the other things you do, what you do in your daily life, which is so important. And to pray for our church at this time. I chair the National Catholic Education Commission, and it's a massive organisation.